Have you ever wondered how Amish families maintain completely weed-free gardens, all season spending only $8, while most gardeners spend every weekend pulling weeds that grow back within days? Most people think weed control requires constant labor, but simple layering systems and biological suppression make it possible. And today, I'm showing you 10 of them. The newspaper-based layer 6 sheets of newspaper laid directly on the soil surface block all light reaching weed seeds below, preventing germination completely and immediately. The newspaper layer biodegrades within 60 days while simultaneously feeding soil biology during its breakdown. Pennsylvania families have used newspaper as a weed barrier continuously since the 1920s. Ohio State University's 2019 weed science research found newspaper layers eliminating 90% of weed seed germination in treated beds. Free material collected from community businesses and neighbors costs absolutely nothing beyond the labor of collection. Wet newspaper thoroughly before laying to prevent wind displacement during application. Overlap all edges by 6 inches, preventing weeds from finding gaps between sheets. Compare that to commercial landscape fabric, costing $45 per roll that prevents soil improvement. Newspaper suppresses weeds while simultaneously improving the soil beneath it. The straw mulch top layer. Let me ask you something. Does an $8 straw bale eliminate an entire season of weeding when applied correctly over a newspaper base? A 4-inch straw layer applied directly over the newspaper base creates an impenetrable double barrier lasting the entire growing season without replacement. Straw blocks all remaining light while the newspaper prevents germination in the soil below simultaneously. Indiana families apply the newspaper and straw combination every April before planting begins. Cornell University's 2019 weed suppression research found the double layer system reducing weeds by 95% throughout the entire season. Straw breaks down slowly and continuously feeding soil biology throughout the summer. Never use hay as a substitute because hay contains viable weed seeds that defeat the entire purpose of the system. Use only wheat or oat straw, which contains zero viable weed seeds capable of germination. One straw bale costs $8 and treats 100 square feet completely. Reapply only 1 additional inch of fresh straw midsummer to maintain barrier depth as the bottom layers compress. The wood chip path system pathway weeds left untreated steal more combined water and nutrients than bed weeds because pathways represent 40% of total garden area requiring suppression treatment. A 6-inch wood chip layer applied in all pathways between garden beds eliminates pathway weed pressure completely. Untreated pathways generate enormous weed seed banks that continuously contaminate adjacent garden beds through wind dispersal. Michigan State University's 2018 weed management research found wood chip paths reducing overall garden weed pressure by 60% through seed bank elimination. Wood chips get delivered free from local tree services that pay disposal fees and welcome farms willing to accept delivery. Chips decompose slowly, lasting 2 full seasons before requiring replacement. Decomposing chips feed beneficial fungal networks that extend into crop root zones benefiting plant nutrition. Indiana families have maintained permanent wood chip pathways continuously since the 1850s settlements. Pathways never get tilled, preserving established fungal networks beneath the chip layer permanently. A 6-inch application depth prevents even aggressive perennial weeds from penetrating through to the soil surface below. The living mulch ground cover white clover planted between crop rows suppresses weeds permanently while simultaneously providing additional garden benefits impossible from any purchased weed barrier product. The dense clover canopy shades soil surface, completely preventing weed seed germination. Below the canopy layer, clover also fixes 150 pounds of nitrogen per acre annually, at zero cost replacing purchased fertilizer entirely. Wisconsin's 2020 Living Mulch research found clover reducing weed pressure by 80%, while simultaneously feeding crops through nitrogen fixation. Plant clover seeds between rows immediately after crop establishment in spring. Clover establishes complete ground coverage within 2 weeks of seeding without any assistance. Mow monthly to keep clover height below the main crop canopy, preventing competition for light. Mowed clippings fall into the mulch layer, adding organic matter simultaneously with each mowing session. Clover reseeds itself every year, requiring zero replanting investment after the initial establishment. Penn State University's 2019 Living Mulch research found clover also reducing irrigation requirements by 35% through moisture retention. Clover roots improve soil structure continuously through biological activity throughout the entire growing season. White clover flowers attract essential pollinators, improving fruit set on every vegetable crop growing nearby. Indiana families have maintained permanent clover pathways in their gardens continuously since the 1800s settlements. The deep cultivation timing's secret. Now, here's what makes this even more effective than any chemical herbicide program available at any price point. Cultivate the soil surface exactly once at planting time and never again after crops establish their root systems. Each additional cultivation brings 10,000 dormant weed seeds from deeper soil layers up to the germination zone near the surface. Garden soil contains approximately 30,000 dormant weed seeds per square foot waiting for light exposure to trigger germination. Ohio State University's 2019 weed science research found cultivation free beds developing 80% fewer weeds by the second season compared to regularly cultivated beds. Once newspaper and straw mulch barriers established properly, any cultivation destroys the entire suppression system, requiring complete reinstallation. A broad fork driven 12 inches deep aerates soil without bringing weed seeds to the surface the way rotary tilling does. Pennsylvania families abandoned tilling practices entirely during the 1800s for this exact observed reason. This no-till philosophy developed through direct generational observation rather than modern scientific research. Observation across generations showed consistently that tilled beds required dramatically more weeding than untilled beds under identical conditions. Indiana families document progressive weed reduction across decade-long no-till garden periods. Modern weed science now confirms precisely what Amish families observed and practiced centuries ago. The corn gluten meal application, corn gluten meal applied to garden soil, prevents weed seed germination naturally through biological compounds, without any chemical herbicide involvement. Applied in early spring before weed seeds begin germinating, natural protein compounds in corn gluten inhibit root development in any germinating seed they contact. Established transplants and crops remain completely unaffected by corn gluten applications at any concentration. Michigan State University's 2020 organic weed management research found corn gluten reducing new weed seed germination by 60% in treated areas. Apply 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet in early April before the first weed seeds germinate. A second application in September prevents fall weed establishment before winter dormancy. Two annual applications create year-round germination prevention, addressing both spring and fall weed pressure periods. Corn gluten also provides 10% nitrogen content, fertilizing established crops while simultaneously preventing weed seedling establishment. This dual function eliminates the need for a separate fertilizer application during the same spring preparation period. Indiana families produce corn gluten directly from their own corn harvest at absolutely zero cost. Home production costs nothing versus $30 for a purchased bag covering identical area. Dry harvested corn and grind coarsely before applying directly from farm production without any processing beyond basic grinding. Ohio families apply corn gluten during spring garden preparation before mulch layers go down. The combination of corn gluten germination prevention plus newspaper and straw physical barrier addresses every weed entry point simultaneously. The targeted hand weeding protocol. Let me ask you something most people never consider. Does 5 minutes of daily weeding permanently prevent 5 hours of weekly crisis weeding that overwhelms most gardeners every summer? Brief daily weeding removes seedlings before root establishment makes them difficult and time consuming to remove. Seedlings removed at the cotyledon stage require virtually zero effort and come out with a single gentle pull. The identical weed removed at 3 inches tall requires 10 times more effort and often breaks, leaving roots behind. Ohio State University's 2018 weed management research found removing weeds before 1 inch height, eliminating 95% of reestablishment from broken root fragments. A daily 5 minute walk through every bed removes every seedling that penetrated mulch barriers before any establish permanent root systems. Weekly weeding allows seedlings to develop root systems, making removal difficult and time consuming. Children get assigned specific bed sections, building essential observation habits through regular garden participation. Friendly competition, finding the most weed seedlings, creates genuine engagement with garden management rather than treating it as unwanted chore. Elderly family members supervise daily walks, teaching precise weed identification to younger generations. 3 generations working together cover large garden areas in only minutes per session. Weed identification knowledge prevents accidentally removing beneficial plants growing among crops. Some weeds prove edible, medicinal, or essential beneficial insect habitat when properly identified. Purslane and lamb's quarters both provide excellent nutrition when harvested young. Dandelion provides deep penetrating medicinal roots that simultaneously break soil compaction. Pennsylvania families maintain detailed weed identification notebooks passed through multiple generations recording local species. The cardboard sheet mulching system, a single cardboard layer, provides the most powerful weed suppression available from any free material because cardboard blocks light completely and persists longer than newspaper before biodegrading. Cardboard lasts 90 days before biodegrading compared to 60 days for newspaper, providing extended suppression that handles aggressive perennial weeds newspaper cannot adequately control alone. Wisconsin's 2019 weed suppression research found cardboard eliminating perennial weeds by 85% when applied consistently. Perennial weeds, including bindweed and thistle, which regrow from deep root fragments that survive newspaper treatment, get suppressed effectively through repeated cardboard applications. A single cardboard application proves insufficient for established perennial weed. Patches that have deep root systems, 3 successive cardboard applications across a single season eliminates most perennial weed species from treated areas completely. Cardboard gets collected completely free from appliance stores, furniture stores, and moving companies that pay disposal fees. These businesses welcome farms willing to accept delivery and remove their cardboard waste. Wet cardboard thoroughly before laying to prevent wind from lifting edges before it settles into place. Remove all tape and staples from cardboard before laying to prevent soil contamination over time. Overlap all edges by 12 inches, preventing aggressive weeds from finding gaps between sheets at seams. Apply immediately before the planting season to prevent weed establishment before crops go into the ground. Cut X-shaped openings in cardboard for transplants to grow through while weeds stay suppressed completely around them. Indiana families use cardboard specifically for perennial weed problem areas that require stronger suppression than standard newspaper provides. Ohio communities organize collective cardboard collection events, gathering sufficient material for all participating families. The solarization method, clear plastic sheeting laid over moist soil during summer, kills weed seeds through solar heat accumulation, addressing the deep seed bank that physical barriers alone cannot eliminate. Soil beneath clear plastic reaches 140 degrees during sunny summer days through the greenhouse effect of trapped solar radiation. 140 degrees kills weed seeds, fungal pathogens, and overwintering pest larvae simultaneously in a single 3-week treatment. Michigan State University's 2019 soil preparation research found solarization reducing weed seed bank by 90% in the top 6 inches during a single summer treatment. Apply solarization plastic during July and August when solar intensity peaks for maximum soil heating. Moist soil is absolutely required before plastic application because dry soil insulates and prevents heat penetration to weed seed depth. Water the treatment area thoroughly immediately before applying plastic to ensure maximum heating effectiveness. Weight all plastic edges with soil to prevent wind displacement during the treatment period. Remove plastic after 3 weeks and replace immediately with straw mulch on the same day. Immediate mulch replacement prevents new weed seeds blown in by wind from germinating in freshly exposed warm soil. Seeds blown onto exposed soil after solarization germinate rapidly in warm conditions without mulch protection. Indiana families solarize all new garden areas before the first planting season to eliminate inherited weed pressure completely. Solarization prevents the weed seed bank from establishing patterns that persist for years in new garden spaces. Pennsylvania families combine solarization with cardboard for the most persistent perennial weed problem areas requiring maximum treatment. Clear plastic costs only $8 per 100 square feet and gets stored carefully between uses to serve 5 or more solarization cycles. The complete $8 weed-free system complete and permanent weed elimination requires combining every individual method into one fully integrated system, working simultaneously on multiple suppression levels. Single methods provide partial suppression during their period of application, while combined methods provide near complete elimination and prevention indefinitely without ongoing chemical purchases. The newspaper base layer combined with the straw top layer creates an impenetrable physical barrier addressing the surface germination zone completely. Wood chip pathways combined with living clover mulch suppresses weeds across the entire garden surface, including both beds and pathways. No-till cultivation combined with corn gluten meal prevents new weed seed germination continuously throughout both spring and fall. Targeted daily weeding combined with systematic cardboard treatment eliminates every weed that breaks through other barrier layers. Solarization prepares new garden areas by eliminating the inherited weed seed bank before any other suppression system gets installed. Ohio State University's 2020 Integrated Weed Management Research found combined methods reducing weeding labor by 95% compared to unmanaged gardens. 95% labor reduction saves 40 hours of weeding annually per 1,000 square feet. Those 40 hours represent $400 in labor value at minimum wage calculations. Implementation begins in March before weed season starts in April. Collect newspaper and cardboard throughout winter months, preparing sufficient supply for complete garden coverage. Apply the newspaper and cardboard base layer immediately after soil temperature reaches 40 degrees in spring. Apply straw mulch on top the same day as base layer installation. Establish wood chip pathways before planting begins to prevent pathway weed establishment from the first week. Cornell University's 2020 Weed Economics research found the complete suppression system paying for itself within a single growing season. The average gardener spends 40 or more hours annually weeding without any suppression system in place. The complete Amish system reduces total annual weeding to under 2 hours for the entire season. 38 hours saved from an $8 investment represents an extraordinary return that compounds every subsequent season. Final closing these 10 methods prove that maintaining completely weed-free gardens all season requires only $8 in initial investment when biological suppression systems replace endless hours of hand weeding every weekend. If this opened your eyes to permanent weed suppression possibilities, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment and tell me which method impressed you most. Are you team newspaper straw barrier, team living clover mulch, or team wood chip pathways? I read every comment and I love hearing from you. If you're serious about eliminating weeds permanently without expensive landscape fabric or toxic herbicides, subscribe to the Amish Life right now. Click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss our videos. We're diving deep into traditional suppression methods, proving what layered biological systems accomplish when knowledge replaces the assumption that weeding is simply unavoidable garden work. Share this with anyone spending every weekend pulling weeds that grow back within days. These techniques prove families maintain weed-free gardens all season through layered suppression systems, costing almost nothing refined across generations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.